it was eager to appease the fundamentalists or the extreme fringes of the Sangh Parivar. It was clear to everybody that the government was doing so under the pressure of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Bajrang Dal and other similar organizations.
The Election Commission has issued a set of guidelines making it mandatory for candidates to declare their criminal antecedents, if any, at the time of filing nominations. Armed with the recent Supreme Court order on electoral reforms, the Election Commission also made it mandatory for the candidates to declare their assets and liabilities at the time of filing nominations. The guidelines will come into force with immediate effect. Elections to 3 Rajya Sabha seats in Kerala next month would be held under the new guidelines. As per the new guideline, each candidate's affidavit shall be duly sworn on before a magistrate or notary public or commissioner of oaths appointed by the State High Court. Non-furnishing of the affidavit by any candidate shall be considered violation of the Supreme Court order and will be rejected at the time of scrutiny itself. Well, for more news, traders began observance of a 2-day shutdown all over India protesting the value-added tax regime which comes into force from Tuesday. In Tamil Nadu, the closure of shops was near total. Reports said shops were also closed in Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai and elsewhere across the country.
The union government, wishing to bring in a uniform equitable sales tax system all over the country, is to enforce the value-added tax regime from 1st April. The trading community has called a 2-day closure in protest, saying VAT will affect them adversely. Almost all shops in cities and towns across Tamil Nadu were closed. So also shops in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and other urban centres in the country. Satish Sutra of the Delhi Traders Association said they are opposed to the way in which VAT is being introduced.
VAT. But we are against what the way it has been incorporated and the laws incorporated therein, where we have no right to make any appeals, where we cannot defend ourselves. And the person who issues the order is all supreme.
The protest continues on Tuesday.
The union government has approached the Supreme Court with the revised affidavit seeking permission to delete a few paragraphs of its earlier affidavit in the Vaiko case. MDMK leader Vaiko has challenged the constitutional validity of Section 21 of POTA. The centre filed an affidavit on Saturday but later wished to amend it. When the case came up, the bench, comprising Justice S. Rajendra Babu and Justice J.P. Mathur, asked the Government Council first to get a no objection from all the parties concerned.
The centre's original affidavit had stated that MDMK General Secretary Vaiko's speech at Tirumangalam near Madurai constituted an act of terrorism punishable under POTA. In its revised affidavit, the centre says that Vaiko's speech on June 29, 2002, for which he was arrested, if properly interpreted, does not attract provisions of POTA. When the case came up, the bench asked the centre's counsel to file it after obtaining a no objection from all the parties concerned. Vaiko's counsel R. Subramaniam submitted that he did not have his client's instructions on giving a no objection. He said he would consult his client and get back to the court.
Union Law Minister Arun Jaitley has defended the centre's decision to file a fresh affidavit in Vaiko's case before the Supreme Court. He also said Vaiko's impugned speech does not attract the provisions of POTA. Law Minister Arun Jaitley said in New Delhi that the mistake in filing the government's affidavit in the Vaiko case had to be inquired into. He also said the mistake had been committed at a junior level and the Attorney General has already taken steps to rectify it.
As far as Mr. Vaiko is concerned, our clear stand in the past has been that the context in which he had delivered that speech, coupled with his subsequent clarification, the provisions of quota could not have been attracted. As the Attorney General has already clarified, at a very junior level, an error had crept in. The Attorney General himself looked into the matter, and in consonance with an earlier opinion that he himself has given, he has revised the affidavit of the government, which revised affidavit will be presented to the court. But isn't this an embarrassing?
Jaitley said in Vaiko's case, the provisions of quota had not been used correctly. DMK President M. Karunanidhi has urged the centre to direct the Tamil Nadu government to refrain from misusing quota provisions to settle political scores.
Speaking in Chennai, M. Karunanidhi said he was satisfied with the centre filing a new affidavit in the Supreme Court in the Vaiko case. He said it was true the DMK, the Patali Makkal Katchi and MDMK had supported the quota when it was passed to stamp out terrorism. There is no change in their stance on that score. But he said the centre should ask the Tamil Nadu government not to misuse quota.
தவறாக பயன்படுத்துறாங்க தமிழ்நாட்டில். அதுக்கு சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட் டைரக்ஷனாக தான் கொடுக்கணும்.
Karunanidhi said he will soon meet the parties which participated in the 29th March fast to decide on the next course of action with regard to Pota. The fast was observed to demand the release of all Pota detainees in the state, including MDMK General Secretary Vaiko and Tamil Nationalist Movement leader P. Nedumaran.
The centre and the Jammu and Kashmir government have decided to set up a special group in the wake of the Nandi Mar killings. Special Secretary in the Home Ministry A.K. Kamandari will head the special group to review existing strategy of the security forces and intelligence agencies in the state. The group will also suggest appropriate strategy to be followed to counter terrorism. The group will have representatives from the army, paramilitary forces, intelligence agencies and the Jammu and Kashmir government.
The high-level meeting convened by Deputy Prime Minister L.K. Advani reviewed the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir. The meeting decided to constitute a special group to monitor the security situation